Hello, everyone. So for today's topic is it's something that has been on my mind all day as I've been I'm creating some content that's coming down the hatch, and just some running themes in I would say life in general for many women in particular, and that is how despite being 35 years old, being single isn't something that bothers me. Not just my age in and of itself. Now, would I want to be partnered in the future? Yes, but my age has nothing to do with, that desire. How quickly I want that, desire to be filled. My being 35 has nothing to do with it, which is a far cry from how I felt at 18, 20, 25, even 30 a couple of years ago, right? And I want to apologize ahead of time if you hear any sirens. There's a truck that went past, so if you hear a boop boop, that's the sirens. But anyway, as I was saying, being 35 and single isn't something that bothers me. And the reason why, and I've said this before, not to be platitudish, is because I've done quite a bit of self-reflection, quite a bit of healing, quite a bit of making sure that I am as self-aware about myself as I possibly can be. Why? Because when you show up as yourself, not only as yourself, but as continuously striving to be your best self and showing up as your best self, you become not only a magnet for good people, which is something I've said before, but you're also able to really assess your needs, your desires, and your wants much better. Reason being is because when we are, growing up, as kids in your childhood, your development is at the mercy of your environment. You can't get away with it. Can't get away from it. Excuse me. You are the product of your environment and the people that are surrounding you. And of course, this means depending on the person, this could mean some really great things, and it can also mean some not so great things. And just like any other person on earth, for me, it was a mix of the two. There were some great things and there were some not so great things. And when you grow up, in the US, adulthood is when you reach 18 years old. You're a kid on the night before your birthday at 11:59 p.m. When you're 17, you are considered a child. When the clock ticks over to 12 a.m. on your birthday, boom, you are considered an adult in the United States of America. But of course, it's not so simple. There isn't some special pamphlet. There isn't, any kind of training. It's not something that you learn in school, how to be an adult. There's how to do certain things that related to adulthood, but there is no manual, right? And because of this, we're kind of at the mercy of our upbringing, and unfortunately, we don't know what we don't know. It's a situation that we're going into blindly. That's why, I always say and believe that our young adulthood, those years, late teens to mid 20s, are really, really crucial in terms of really just learning how to be a person, developing your personhood. Because there's a lot of tough lessons to learn during that time, and for me, there was a lot of tough lessons to learn during that time. And even beyond too, because like I was saying, I'm focusing on how being 35 now, but since I've been 18, which is about 17 years, I am, I haven't had my birthday yet this year. A lot has happened that has shown me that if I had partnered up, and not only partnered up, because I've almost been married twice actually, but if I had chosen a life partner, if I had gotten married any sooner than now, it probably wouldn't have been the best choice for myself. I say probably because you don't always know, and life does have a way of uppercutting you, teaching you lessons the hard way. And I've learned a lot of lessons the hard way, and that's how I know. That's how I've learned a lot of lessons now. Was the hard way. That's why I said, being 35, time has afforded me, quite a few lessons when it comes to adulthood. And I do realize that there's some people like me, didn't really have too much of instruction in general when it comes to adulthood. I really had to, everything I know I've learned on my own. I know for some people that's not the case, but even still, when it comes to our journey of self-awareness and just learning about yourself, all the instruction in the world, all the support in the world, does not make up for taking responsibility for yourself and doing the work, and making sure that you are making the best choices for yourself, and really just kind of, in a way, parenting yourself in adulthood. Because when we're kids, you have someone who's telling you, stop that, don't do that, don't touch that, don't drink that, don't lick that. You have someone who is kind of being that buffer to the things that can harm you. In adulthood, you don't have that. It's do it this way or experience these consequences, which for some things the consequences may not be that bad. For other things, the consequences can be just like ugh. And I know for me, I was in a bad relationship a couple of years ago, and it ended up derailing, derailing, and I don't always like to say derailing, but it kind of did derail my life for about 6 years. Like I said, there's always room for learning and whatnot. So, for lack of a better word, because I do believe that you can never thwart God's plans for your life. So you're always going to get to your destination. Now, how many twists and turns you take to get there, that's a whole nother discussion. So for me, I had a giant twist, giant turn, that meant that I wasn't going to get where I am now for several more years. But also, I am okay with that because I understand myself so much better now. I am so much more comfortable with myself. I prioritize my purpose. For a lot of girls, especially coming up in the church, I come out of the church. You are taught to prioritize being a wife, in a lot of instances, over what God's plan for your life is, what your purpose is. And so I did put that on a pedestal. I put marriage on a pedestal because I was taught that was what my worth kind of amounted to. Or I shouldn't say kind of did amount to. And in that process, I started to kind of ignore, or not even ignore, because I knew who I was, but I didn't give myself the liberty to really investigate that until I took a step back and said, okay, I almost, I almost made a not so great choice because of what I was taught, but I need to pivot here and actually introduce myself to bliss, reintroduce myself to myself. And so that is what kind of started my journey to, I don't say it started my journey to healing, but kind of started my journey to self-awareness. Because again, I did begin, therapy and whatnot when I was in my 20s, but I didn't really come into true sense of self-awareness until I was in my 30s. That was relatively, like later, not relatively later. It was something that didn't happen until pretty soon. Like in terms of my or not that long ago. I'm gonna get all, look at me getting all twist tied and everything. Y'all know what I'm talking about. It's not something that I started doing until I got a little older. Boom, there we go. Brains all over the place. Long day. So for that reason, I do not get worked up about how old I am. I see all the commentary about, older women. I see all the commentary that's going, oh, I saw someone say, some of these messages again not kind of out of hand, very much out of hand. I saw somebody said, women can't have babies after age 35. And I said, yeah, fellas, if you're watching this, we absolutely can have babies after 35 and quite some time afterwards. So if you were hoping that was, some way to kind of get around not needing, any kind of preventative measures or anything like that, sorry to break it to you, but we could have babies well into our 40s and for many women, even their 50s. May take a little longer for the up, once you get to the late 40s and 50s. But that's actually a trend. Like the age of mothers now is actually trending upwards, but that's an aside that, maybe I'll get into a little later. But anyway, as I was saying, being older is going to make me just a better person in general, better partner, and it's also going to set me up for all the great things that I've yet to accomplish in life. And this is a message for women. I know there's probably going to be some guys going, no, you shouldn't, don't listen to them. One of the things that I'll get into later is, men have a tendency, not even a tendency. Men are masters at making sure that they're doing what they can to get their needs met. Whether or not they're successful at that is a whole nother story. But anyway, they're masters at getting their needs met. Women, we tend to be masters at getting everyone else's needs met. Point blank. Just going to say that right now. So that's why, when it comes to all those messages about what women should be doing and all that, especially from guys, like, don't focus on yourself and your own development. Because there's nothing worse than making really rash and permanent decisions based on your fear and based on your insecurity from someone else who's influencing you. They don't even know you, and their messages are influencing you. I know for me, like I said, growing up in the church and even the church I was attending, churches I was attending in my early 20s, they were kind of putting these messages out about my worth and all that, and I was really listening to them and taking them to heart. But at the end of the day, it was all just a distraction, because God says, who do I say you are? And that is who I listen to. I don't listen to anyone else, right? So hopefully this message reached the right people. If you are, especially young women that are approaching 30, because I remember the anxiety I felt as I approached 30, and that's actually why the failed relationship I was in was so impactful, because I was like, ooh, maybe I will get married before I'm 30. I won't feel so ancient and feel so left out. Yeah, no, that blew up in smoke. That was a lot. That was the worst. Yeah, I'll get into that, and you'll hear it throughout some of my stories. But anyway, especially if you're approaching 30 and feel like you're behind, you feel like your worth is not, you feel worthless because of, you haven't hit certain milestones. It's easier said than done. It's simple to say, but hard to execute. but it is very well worth it, especially if you're watching this or watching any of my other videos. If you're watching this and you're also in my position, you're in a better position than, you're honestly in a better position than you thought, because that means that you're on a road to self-awareness, really learning about yourself, really exploring your purpose, and that is going to lead to a much more fulfilling life for you. Okay? So hopefully that helped someone out there. If you want to schedule a consultation, because I am a master abundant life coach, the link is down below. Also down below is my Instagram handle, and also links to my website, and I'll have links to courses coming up and whatnot too. So follow those links if you want to get in contact with me. And thank you so much for watching today. I hope you have a lovely morning. Hope you have a lovely afternoon. Hope you have a lovely evening. Whatever time of day it is that you're watching this, I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. And thank you so much for watching.